Hey there, I'm Jill Allen, and this is Find Your Fierce, the show designed to help you discover your inner strength and unlock an unstoppable mindset that will completely transform how you show up every day. Each week, I will share methods and strategies to inspire you to step into your greatness and live life with purpose. Join me on this journey to becoming fit, fierce, and unstoppable. Hey there, and welcome to episode 199 of Find Your Fierce, your go-to podcast for unlocking your best self. And I tell you, we're deep into our Wellness Unplugged series where we've explored the purpose of movement, how to break the sugar spell, the importance of gut health these past few weeks. And today you are absolutely going to love today's focus. My friend Jennifer Jenkins is back with us, and we're diving into such an important and often overlooked topic of perimenopause and menopause. And we're going to just really embrace our 40s and 50s and beyond, from managing symptoms to holistic approaches and weight gain. Guys, we're going to cover it all. Jennifer is the founder of Rooted Holistic Health Coaching, and she's a certified health coach, an RN, author, speaker, lifelong learner, and a true expert in the health industry. And she is here with us today. Jen, how are you?
Jill, I'm wonderful. Thank you so much for having me. I just love all that you're doing. Every time I see you, I hear from you, I'm just like so inspired just watching your movement that you're making and the impact that you're making. It's just, honestly, it's amazing, Jill.
Well,
So,
right back at you. That's why I had to reach out and have you here, because I know you're making a difference in people's lives. You're always learning, diving in, just discovering new ways to help people. And I think that's what's amazing. So, no, the respect is there for sure. Where do we start? I mean,
right?
we're diving in to this, and me, I'll be completely honest, 47, the weight just slowly creeps up, despite me working out 6 to 7 days a week. I feel like I'm pretty healthy. I mean, when my kids say that I have an ingredient household, they eat chocolate chips for a treat because that's what we have. But I mean, between the weight gain, the up and down mood swings, the exhausted days leading up, to my cycle. It's just crazy. And so I don't know. I just don't want to blame it on being in perimenopause. I know there has to be a way to
Yes,
feel good through this process and feel good through your 40s and 50s and 60s.
absolutely. The common thing that I hear time and time again, oh my gosh, almost on a daily basis of like consults that I do and women that are struggling is like, I don't understand. I've changed nothing. And now all of a sudden I'm gaining weight. No matter what I do, nothing is helping me get it off. I'm exercising more, I'm eating less, I'm doing XYZ, and like nothing is working.
Mm.
And so
Sounds
when they go
familiar.
that sounds
That
familiar.
sounds familiar. Yeah. I
Yeah,
mean, nothing's changed. Like, you're doing all the things,
right.
and then all of a sudden, boom.
Right. So this is where the frustration comes in, because then the first thing they do is they're like, okay, I got to go get labs drawn. I got to see what's wrong with me. Maybe it's my thyroid. Maybe it's the hormones. Maybe it's XYZ. And so then they go in. Labs aren't bad. Usually, like, they're fine. They're like, oh, you're fine. It's just getting older, right? That's usually the answer that they get. And then they come back, well, I don't understand. Like, there has to be something wrong. So then they treat the symptoms, right? It comes off like with, oh, I have difficulty sleeping. Now all of a sudden I'm not sleeping well. Or why am I irritable all of a sudden? Or why do I have all these cravings? Or there's just so many just vague symptoms that come up. And so then they start, I always call it like a whack-a-mole approach. We treat one symptom, right? We suppress that, we satisfy that. Now a new one pops up. And then yet another one pops up. And that's just because we've never addressed the underlying factors. This is
Good.
why a root cause approach and doing things the right way will always trump everything. Always.
Oh, you're getting me fired up. You really are. I am, because I know that there's so much hope in all of this, because, I feel like I'm doing things the right way and still struggling. And so here you are, like, let's get to that root cause. And maybe I've been masking it for the last, couple years as things have been creeping up on me in my late 40s. So this is good. Okay.
Yeah.
So I'm excited for the people that are listening here today, that we don't have to do the, what'd you say, the whack-a-mole? The
Yeah.
whack-a-mole
Yeah.
approach?
It's kind of like the whack-a-mole approach. It's
No,
like,
we're getting
okay,
to the
pop
root.
that one down and a new one pops up.
Yeah. No, this is so good. So I know you mentioned some of the symptoms of that. I mean, what else? I mean, are there any other symptoms that maybe? people might be experiencing? You said irritability.
Irritability, I see brain fog a lot, or just like inflammation in the body. Like, oh, why do my joints all of a sudden hurt? Like, there's just like this inflammatory response that's happening, or, around the midsection, like the belly weight, like that comes on. Like, all of a sudden, I've got this distension, or I have after I eat, and I have all this bloating now, like after I eat meals. Honestly, there's a list a mile long. Low sex drive. You could have, I mean, oh my gosh, Jill, like there's so many vague symptoms that come along with this, to be honest
Mhm.
with you. But those are like the main ones that I see. It's a subtle weight gain, it's the brain fog, it's the inflammation, digestive issues, sleep, irritability. Those are like,
The main,
yeah.
and those all sound familiar. I feel that people just chalk it up and just say, well, that's normal. That's
No,
just
it's
part of it.
nothing normal. None of that is normal. That is our body communicating with us, and it's telling us the story.
Mm,
It's up to us to listen to our body, or we just brush it off and keep going about. Well, guess what happens? It's going to get louder. It's going to get louder and louder and louder until you're forced to pay attention to it. So
mm,
none of this vague symptoms are anything normal. So we really want to listen to the internal dialect that's happening and communicating to us, and take that feedback and like, okay, what I'm doing is not working.
mm.
The definition of insanity is we keep doing the same thing over and over again and we expect to get a different outcome. Well, if we keep doing everything the same as we've always done, what is miraculously going to change?
Right.
Nothing.
Yeah. Are we willing to change? I think that's a whole,
Right. That's a whole nother episode.
yeah, that's your mindset piece that I know that we're going to dive into because I think that's the biggest thing is like, are we willing to change? Are we willing to look at the inner dialogue versus
Yeah.
just trying to mask the issues
Yeah.
with a quick fix?
Agreed. And, a quick answer to that is, how much is this costing you
Mm,
in your daily life? How much is it really impacting? How much is it impacting your self-confidence, your mental clarity, your work, your relationships? Because at the end of the day, when the desire to change is greater than our state of being, is when change happens, right? If we just want to live status quo and like, okay, yeah, let's just brush it off, okay, then stay the same. But you know what? My desire to be an elevated version of myself is so strong, I refuse to stay average. I
oh,
won't.
yeah. Or what's normal,
Right.
you
And
know,
like I said,
or what we
nothing
accept as normal.
right.
Yeah.
Right. And so there's a way to go through it empowered, and there's a way to go through every woman, the way that we're designed, this is a normal chapter of our lives. We're not going to stay in childbearing age forever. We
Hmm.
go through this transition, but we can go through an age gracefully and embrace this new chapter of our lives and be a better version, right? This is just the chapter that we're in,
Right.
but you can definitely embrace it and welcome it and love it and go into this next new chapter empowered.
Oh, I love that. Well, I want to be empowered. So, where do we start to get to the root cause? I mean, what is it? What is the root issue?
Yeah. So what we know today, and this is where, understanding like functional medicine and where we're at in our society today is we know ultra processed foods is the number one thing linked to chronic disease and metabolic disorders, period.
Mm.
93% of Americans right now are considered metabolically unhealthy.
Ooh, 93%.
93%. So when we know when we're metabolically unhealthy, it is linked to insulin resistance, it's linked to hormonal imbalances, it's linked to inflammatory diseases, autoimmune diseases, cancers, the whole gamut. So when we look at the first thing because inflammation in the body is one of the root of diseases, right? And so we look at, well, what's causing inflammation? Well, one, it could be mindset, which we'll dive into later, because the thoughts that we create have substance within the body, neurochemicals that are being released. But the foods that we consume through ultra processed foods, there's so many chemicals and additives that are being pumped into our foods that we have considered normal, which nothing normal is about any of that. It's banned in a lot of other countries. And that creates this inflammatory response. Well, what happens in that? Well, over time, we have the cortisol goes up because the cortisol is like the fire alarms are going off because, wait a minute here, something's coming in that I just don't know how to handle.
Mm-hmm.
And when the cortisol goes up, it calls up its buddy insulin, like, hey, we're under attack here. And then we start to see insulin resistance on the horizon because we've got this steady stream of high blood sugar levels. And over time, that goes undetected. The insulin resistance goes undetected
Okay.
until it becomes bigger problem. Then we start to see like, hey, wait a minute, your A1C is elevated. That's unusual. We see that now we've got, pre-diabetes, and now we've got type 2 diabetes. And now we've got this whole Pandora's box that's opening up,
Yeah.
right? And we look at the core foundation, right? Like these main things that are causing it. So one is stress. We all have stress, right? We
Mm-hmm.
all deal with stress. But how I manage my stress state and how somebody else manages their stress state, even though we're experiencing the same things, could be completely different. I spend about an hour a day in meditation to control my emotional state so I don't feel the negative impacts within my body. So, in breath work, right? Lowering the
Right.
cortisol levels
Yeah.
versus somebody who's panic mode and in the fight or flight state and staying in this chronic state of stress within the body, it's going to secrete cortisol. It's going to secrete insulin, right? And so we see this,
A
and
lovely
these are,
cycle.
yeah, it's a vicious cycle. So what happens in this cycle? It throws all the other hormones off.
Mm.
This is where we see this happen now. And so all of the other factors of all the perimenopausal symptoms that we see are amplified. They're way bigger, stronger symptoms because underlying is what's happening that's causing these things to manifest. Does that make sense? You
Yeah.
follow?
Yeah. Okay. So, but you're also saying it's not just the external things
Right.
that are happening around us that maybe of how we handle stress. I mean, you're even talking about the ultra processed foods.
Yes.
That's stress too, right? On our body.
Yes.
We
Equally
become
stressed. Our
inflamed.
body doesn't know the difference. Is
Just
it
stress,
mental? Is it
right?
physical? It's
Okay.
stress. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Stress is stress. It releases the cortisol. So it can be coming from the foods that we digest and bring in, like, ultra processed foods. It could be overconsumption of alcohol. It could be, toxins in our environment, right? It could be what we're putting on our skin, toxins that we don't even think about, putting on lotions and all the beauty care products that
Right.
are inundated with all these harmful chemicals. And our body, all it knows is, wait a minute here, like it's under stress. And then it releases all these other issues
Yeah.
that's happening. It's like a cascade response. I always tell my clients, it's kind of like the domino effect, right? We've got this main domino that is being activated that then falls into all these other areas.
Just triggers everything.
Hmm.
So you're going to tell me like perimenopause and I mean, that's a metabolic, like the symptoms as we go through the change
Yes.
can
Yeah,
be controlled or managed,
absolutely.
still
So
based off of getting that in check.
yeah, for sure. So we look at like first things first is, what I always focus on with my clients is I run a whole metabolic mastery academy,
Mm.
and it's a complete comprehensive program. So it guides them through understanding the hormone response that's happening within the body. So first things first is understanding how insulin plays such a significant role within the body and how when we balance out insulin is one of the main drivers with all the hormone responses that's happening. So we have three primary hormones in our body, right? Cortisol and insulin are two of them. We have to know what they like and what they don't like. We have to play nicely with them in the sandbox. So when we
Oh,
play nicely with them, they
right.
play nicely with us.
Okay.
So we
So we're
see this.
narrowing this down.
Yeah. Yes.
It's
Yes. So we
simple, but it's
just
not
sit down.
simple, but we're
Yeah.
narrowing this down to say, okay, this is the root cause. What can we do to
Yes.
have them play nice?
Yeah, exactly. So right now in our country, we live in an environment that we've normalized ultra processed foods,
Mhm.
right? It's our grocery store is primarily that you walk in and all the inside aisles is all your ultra processed foods.
I
So I
love
mean,
how you said that we have normalized this. That hits home because when you choose a different route, you're the odd man out because, you're eating healthy or choosing a different way. It seems crazy because it is so normalized.
yeah,
Look at the kids' lunch boxes, the school lunches, the behavior in the schools, the behavior with kids and within our family. And it doesn't stop there because even our attitudes and emotions and the way we function, it just,
yeah. Yeah, it's all connected. And so when we look at like there's certain chemicals that are in foods that we know are linked to behavioral issues and causes you can't focus. It's
yeah.
because your body is rejecting them. It's giving you symptoms, just like when you have side effects when you take medications,
Mhm.
it's your body rejecting it, right? It's telling you, like, if we have these symptoms that come as a result because it's not meant for us.
Wow.
And we brush it off like, oh, there must be something wrong with me. And we start chasing all these answers. But when we really dive deep, I can't tell you the number of clients I've worked with over the years that had anxiety or had, all these other issues going on that simply dissolved by making the lifestyle behavioral changes. But going back to your point, like, but do you want it? Right?
Right.
How bad do you want it? Because I
Right.
know 5 years of spending tens of thousands of dollars seeing 8 specialists, taking a cabinet full of medication was not the route for me. That's why I
Mm.
do the work that I do today, is I wanted it so bad to not be in that state of being. I wanted to live much healthier that I
Mhm.
was willing to do the work. Right. And that's the thing.
I'm willing to do the work. I'm telling you,
Yeah.
and I don't want to go on a cycle. I want this to be lifelong. I mean, it does have something to do with it, but I saw that the average 50-year-old has 26 more years left of their life. That hit me so hard, where it's like I want to be able to be there for my kids, the grandkids, to get up and down off the floor. I mean, yes, selfishly and with some vanity thrown in there, I do want the scale to be my friend, but it's so beyond that. And I want to feel good. I don't want to be exhausted. I don't want to be tired. I don't want to be irritable through any of this. And I'm a person that's go, go, go all the time. And I look at it, I'm like, okay, so 26 years on average, I want to have such a high quality of life within those years. People joke and say, well, I don't want to live to 90. Well, I'm like, well, I want to live to 90 if I'm moving and grooving and have health on my side. But it starts now, right? Because what we do now is going to impact us when we're 70.
Absolutely. And what we know right now, Jill, this is like we're making history as we speak. This is the first time in history that the age span is going backwards. We're
Ah,
not living longer. First time ever. And I'm on your side. Like I want to be in the blue zones. I want to be
I know.
100 and vibrant and like out playing golf and doing, living life.
Yeah.
That's my desire. I feel like I'm just getting started. Like
Hmm.
I have just such a big vision. Like I feel like I'm just getting started. I haven't even got to the starting line yet. Like that's the way I
Right. Like
feel.
you just feel so good.
Yeah.
Well, you
And
look amazing. I
thank
mean, I
you.
followed your story and how you have completely changed and transformed, and you were always in the health industry or in medical and of how you woke up, as in there has to be a different way holistically that we don't have to always resort to medication to mask our symptoms as we go through life.
Right. Exactly. And that's the thing is so many women are suffering that shouldn't be. And when we look at, I feel like it's our duty to band together, and come together and support one another and embrace this chapter, like I said, of our lives, because we all go through it. This is a normal aging process. We have a time in our lives for childbearing and a time in our lives where we don't. And it's hard to go through, right? As we age, nobody wants to get older, but we can embrace it and
Mhm.
health, age gracefully and enjoy this new era. Like, and so when we are in this state, to be able to still enjoy life to full capacity, but understand the things that are driving it up. So, we talk, about gut health, right? Gut health is
Mhm.
key, 100%,
Yeah.
like key. It's the foundations. Absolutely. Detoxification, liver, everything's metabolized through the liver. So we've got to have a good detoxification process going on within the body. We have to know like insulin, the main thing, quit snacking all day because that leads into this chronic state of insulin, right? Which leads into insulin resistance, which is why I know you and I come from the same
I
school of
was
thought.
just
Like
gonna
it's like
say, yeah.
we were trained the same way.
Uh-huh.
We look back. And
I
I know
know.
it's like, eat, snack, eat, snack, eat, snack. And there was never a break, and yes, that works for people who like you. If you're training for an Ironman and if you're doing like, in extreme endurance sports,
Mhm.
of course, because your body needs that fuel, right? You're going to burn through it. But the average person that isn't training for those things don't need that.
The average person where we're hitting 80% of either overweight or obese.
Right, right. We do
Cut
not need
that.
that.
Okay.
And so then we end up with this, chronic high blood sugar levels because our body never gets a break. So we eat from the time we wake up, we eat from the time we go to bed, and there's no breaks. And then what if you're only getting 4 or 5 hours of sleep? You only give your digestive tract a break for this amount of time, and then you're right back at it the next day. And so over time, your body's like, look, I can't keep up anymore. Something's got to give here. And then
Mhm.
we start with the issues. So I share all that to say, when we look at foundation, we go back to root causes. This is why I focus so heavily on we got to correct the insulin first. That's number one. That's key. It's key. It's a primary hormone in our body that regulates so many other areas.
Okay. And so that kind of links back to the stop snacking,
Hmm.
right? To give our body a break for that insulin to drop
Yes.
or
Yes. Normalize.
yeah.
Yes. So we want to have it instead of a steady high stream all morning, noon, and night. And if we're not getting enough sleep, cortisol activates insulin response. So if we're not getting enough sleep, we're under stress. Then that's why we have this chronic state of inflammation in the body because insulin's constantly being pumped out.
Okay. See, I love systems. When it can be mapped out like this, that's just a system that it makes sense, complete sense. And I was going to bring that up too, because we were trained. I remember
Yes.
like, just fuel, you've got to stoke the fire. You got to, pump it in and to keep that metabolism burning. I mean, I remember being trained and to speak
Yes.
like that, even in my schooling, like even in my education as a college kid. That is what nutrition was all about. And so this is good. So 3 times a day.
Yeah. And sometimes too. So and what's interesting is like, the last time I came on the podcast with you, we were talking about, you were asking me about intermittent fasting at the time.
Yeah.
I was like, oh yeah, no, but now doing more research and doing a mentorship in functional medicine and diving deeper into it, this goes back thousands of years that there's a reason and intent behind why they do what they do because they rest the insulin response in the body.
Mhm.
It all makes perfect sense now. So this is why it's important to continue to learn and grow because science changes. Now science has caught up to what our ancestors knew thousands of years ago. And so now we understand, just doing a simple 12-hour fast is a great place to start. Most people don't even do that, right? So like let's say you stop eating at 7 p.m.,
Mhm.
right? You go to bed at 10 in a perfect world, right?
Right. Right. Yeah. Yeah. And
And then you have breakfast at 7 a.m. Well, that 7 to 7 is a 12-hour
all
fast.
fast.
But most people eat up until the time they go to bed.
Hmm.
They go to bed, they wake up, they eat as soon as they get up, or they'll go through the drive-through, pick up something, and then high carbs, ultra processed, sugar and everything else in their coffees.
Yep.
And then off to work they go, and then they don't understand why in the afternoon I'm so tired and I can't function. Well, that's your insulin talking to you.
Okay. So that's doable. I mean, I think like you should be sleeping 7 to 8 hours. So you're
100%.
you're
That's your best anti-aging you will ever get right
is
there.
sleep. Oh,
Yes, you'll ever get. You can't possibly bottle anything and substitute what the benefits of sleep will give to you. Restorative sleep, like uninterrupted restorative
right.
sleep. That's where the magic happens.
I don't know why anyone would not want to like truly buy in, like try this method because, it's like sooner or later you'd have to give something a try. I mean, if we have to realize that what we're doing is not working.
Right.
I hope today is a wake-up call for people.
I did too, Jill, because like I said, so many women are suffering that shouldn't be. I see it, I witness it all the times, and it's impacting, how they show up as a mom, a wife, a partner, in their community, their jobs.
Yeah.
It really
Beyond
is.
trying to get a pair of pants on,
Oh yeah, it's bigger than
absolutely horrible. And I mean, the whole self-esteem issue, I mean, that's just add up. Well, that's why it all trickles.
yeah, it's so much bigger than that. And it's where, nobody should be suffering silently too. And we don't talk about this like we should. Instead, it's promoting, a medication response. Look, I've been in this industry. I've been a nurse for 25 years. And I'm
Yeah.
going to say it here and I will say it till my time is up. There will never, ever, ever be a medication that is a cure all, period.
Mm.
Ever. We have to do the work. If
Yeah.
you want longevity, you want, a life of abundance, you will never find that in a quick fix pill, ever. You have to understand
Yeah.
that we have to look at it from a multifaceted approach. This is way bigger than just diet and exercise.
Hmm.
This is a multifaceted approach that we have to take when we look at metabolic hormonal issues, but it doesn't have to be complicated. That's why I've taken all this stuff and put it down into like easy to understand strategies.
Yeah. A
And
simple,
yeah, my average client loses 20 to 30 pounds in 6 to 10 weeks. Like that's average
right.
when
Which I
they've tried
love
everything.
that because it's like 1 to 2 pounds a week. It's the real deal. This isn't a drop 20, like
Yeah.
just
My
chip away,
clients
chip
do
away.
like, yeah, but they do. They have extremely fast results because we're coming at it from all these angles very quickly and balancing out the body very quickly, hormonally. And so then as a result, I always tell my clients, like, look, I'm not, they're focused on the weight loss. I'm not, I'm looking on restorative health. I look at their weight loss as a byproduct because we're restoring their health. That's what I look at. That's a bonus.
Healing the gut and
Yeah.
getting down to that root cause.
Yeah.
Can you share some of like the metabolic syndromes or issues that we do have? Just so, like, can you list down some of the things? Like
Do you
the diseases.
Oh gosh, Jill, they're linked to everything. High
It's
blood pressure, high
every,
cholesterol, type 2 diabetes, hormonal imbalances, inflammatory issues, brain issues. Alzheimer's now classified as type 3 diabetes because it's inflammation of the brain. You have inflammation in the body, you have inflammation in the brain. It's an organ. So we see it's linked to near everything, every chronic disease that we see today. PCOS, erectile dysfunction, literally just about everything minus like, genetic defaults, right? Like
right.
things that are like sickle cell, like there's things along those lines that's obviously different. But when we look at like the bulk of chronic diseases that we see today that are prevalent can be traced back to metabolic dysfunction. This is why this is such an important topic because it's so much bigger than just perimenopause and menopause. We don't want to get Alzheimer's.
Hmm.
We don't want to get like be debilitated. I don't, using a walker and these have things as we get older. It does start today. It starts now. But the beautiful thing is, like, if it's advanced disease, I've seen people drastically take
Hmm.
back control over their health and their symptoms by making lifestyle changes. It's possible. I witness it every day.
Well, it would take diet. Well, and I asked you to make that list or like the hip because I know it's everything, but I wanted to hear that list because I know someone on here is listening that has that and think that they're just doomed for life. And so as you rattled that long list, and then I know it can continue on, I know it hit home with me because it is everything for that. So, okay, break it down in terms of, well, let's take diabetes, for example, their A1C levels. Those numbers can be reversed.
Oh gosh, yes. It's a
right?
completely
Can
foodborne
drop.
disease. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Food and emotional stressful state disease. Yes. So it's complete. We weren't born with type 2 diabetes.
Yeah.
Most people are not born with high blood pressure unless you have like a kidney issue or a genetic, defect, right? Most people, we're not born with these things. It's completely environmentally influenced. So what does that tell us? If we change the environment, we can change the disease. We're
Mm.
not born. That's why I love being on this side of the equation and showing people that just because we might have, like I was seeing over 8 different specialists. I was told I had to live with the health ailments that I had for the rest of my life. I'm like, no, I don't. Why would you tell me that?
Yeah.
And I
And then
and I
you
reversed them all.
thinking
Like,
something was wrong to go to
yeah,
all the specialists is to
yes,
try to figure that out. And there's what was wrong could be fixed
yes,
or
yes.
reversed.
Correct. And so that's why I say we have more control over our health than we've ever been made to believe. And I hope people really understand that we really do. Now, can I say we can correct and reverse absolutely everything? No, but
Mhm.
we all can be better.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. Okay, so let's break it down and again as to exactly what we have to do to wrap this up in
Yeah.
terms of like a bullet point. We're talking sleep. We need sleep.
Yes, for sure. Definitely a way, we all have a lot of stress right now. So I always say, like, control your environment. What are you putting in your mind? What are you reading? Who are you surrounding yourself with? That is so critical because
Mm.
a toxic mind is just as harmful. Like, let's say if I'm eating like organic salads all day long, but I have a toxic mind, I'm eating toxic salads all day long. We have to clean up the mind. And so do a clean sweep, like, pay attention, like what are you reading, watching, make sure you have a positive environment
Group,
going
yeah.
on in between your two ears and who you're surrounding yourself with. That's very, very important. Obviously, sleep, we talked about having, a good outlet for stress, whether that's getting out, that's breath work, connecting in nature, being in file, volunteering your time in a community, whatever that is, like find an outlet. So you're releasing stress in a healthy way, right? Nutrition, obviously key. If you can't pronounce the ingredients on your food label,
Oh,
likely your body's not either. And so look at like minimally processed foods.
okay.
Start being an advocate for yourself, paying attention to what you're putting in your body. I always tell my clients, once you reach your ultimate goal, we look at 80/20, right? 80% of the time I'm eating foods that don't require a nutrition label.
Okay. See, some
Whole
people
foods.
have to do, I know that's even part of the mindset aspect of it too, because we're really not depriving ourselves of things.
No, gosh,
That's just
no.
different.
No.
But I love that you have like a reset meal or a
Yeah.
80/20 because
It's life. We
yes,
do want to enjoy life. We don't want to be so restrictive that we can't sustain this, right? It's all about sustainability. And so we look at, majority of the time, you know, people are doing the exact opposite. It's ultra processed foods with very little whole foods.
right.
Let's flip it. Let's do 80 to 90% of the time, it's foods that don't require a label, balancing out every single meal with protein, fat, and fiber. So greens, healthy fats, protein, that helps the insulin response. So every single meal, fat, fiber, protein, or
Oh, I like
greens.
that.
Super
Okay.
easy, right?
Yeah. And
And
fulfilling.
yeah, there you have it. And the more what my clients realize is like once they get off the ultra processed foods, because those cause a chemical response in the brain that actually causes you to crave more and
Crave
more and
it.
more, that once you get off of the ultra processed foods, the cravings actually dissipate. It's amazing how it happens because your leptin and ghrelin hormones, it's a whole topic for another day, but it really is, you'll see a difference.
Easier to
And
say
then,
no. It's funny that my kids, they have a math teacher, has not had sugar for like years.
uh,
They're like, how does she do that? I'm like, because her body craves different things, that she's not addicted to sugar.
yes,
Sure, it was tough for the first week.
yes.
Once you get that out, it's almost, well, when you start thinking about all the ingredients, you can be disgusted.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. And sugar
Not
is
saying it
so
doesn't taste good.
addictive.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
tastes good. Yeah.
Well, of course it does. It hijacks the brain. It's the dopamine response, but
Yeah.
it's extremely addictive. But once you break free of it, yeah, you don't crave it. And when you do have something sweet, like it's like, ew, it doesn't even taste good because it changes the taste buds.
It just hits the spot, move on, or it doesn't, and you don't want any more.
Yeah.
And then what
Yeah.
was the other thing you were going to say?
We looked at what? Sleep, stress, movement, of course.
Yeah.
So people need to be moving with you.
Yeah.
That's for sure. I honestly, because
Yeah.
it's so important with the insulin response with elevated blood sugar levels, which most people have, moving the body helps to burn that excess elevated blood glucose. So, especially walking after meals is really great, moving the body, throughout the day, not eating. I always say the 3 hours prior to bed, don't ever eat in that 3 hour window prior to bed from the time.
Okay.
So, if you go to bed at 10 o'clock, your very last meal should be at 7 o'clock, period. Nothing from that point beyond. And
Okay.
that's because there's a lot of magic that happens in that window that we know of. So that's another great key is, that's going to help in itself with so many
It
other
helps
areas
with
of
the
sleep.
12 hours. Seven,
Yeah.
then.
Hmm. Yep. And eating too close to bedtime interrupts sleep. And then we have an elevated blood glucose level when we're sleeping. So there's so many things that are interconnected. You'll start to see it's like kind of like a puzzle. The pieces of the puzzle all start to come together when you start to understand how these hormones play together and how one impacts the next.
Wow, this is so good. I think you're going to get someone fired up. I know you got me fired up.
Yeah.
It's just to stay focused and dialed in. And when you talk about surrounding yourself with people who fuel you, that's exactly what it is because it's sometimes challenging to stay dialed in by yourself, thinking that you have to do this or that you're on some diet or nutrition plan. And it's not, there's days like that too. People think, oh, well, you train and you do this. I'm like, it's still hard. I mean, for me. And that's why it's so important to be surrounded by people who are on that same mission to speak life into you and give you like a little swift kick and reminders. I think we all know we need to eat lean meats and good, healthy fats and fiber. It's just sometimes we need that little encouragement and reminder of the why behind it.
Yeah, definitely. And like I said, it's just you see so many people suffering that really shouldn't be. And like when I went on this journey, I was on my own island for many years. It was lonely. That's why I do the work that I do today, because I didn't want other people to have to suffer like I did. It was painful. It was a painful process going against the grain
Mm,
and really, come stepping out of the model I was trained in and learning a different way. And it was hard. It was hard. And so I really value my community too, like, experts like
mhm.
you and others, because I love it because it's extracting people out of the woodwork to know like you are not alone. You're
Right.
not.
And there's a different way,
Yeah.
a new different way, a new normal that is better than what we're slogging through life with.
Right. Right. I mean, we're all meant to live an abundant life.
Yeah.
And most people are not living up to their highest version of themselves. They're being held back, anchored. And so my job is to help people unleash these chains because when you change your health, your mindset changes, your relationships change, your work performance changes. Literally every area of your life changes. I see it all the time. And
Oh,
it's
that's so good.
beautiful to watch and witness. Like your kids see a different version of you
Hmm.
or those around you, your friends, your family, whoever. They see a different version of you shining. And that is an inspiration to them. And then guess what happens? Then you trigger well, if they can do it, I can do it.
Right.
You create a movement. Together, we can create a movement towards a higher version of everyone. We
Yeah.
all deserve that.
That butterfly effect.
Yes.
It's so
Yeah. Yes.
where can they follow you, find you? I know you have Instagram.
Yeah,
Is
I'm on Instagram. It's Jen Jenkins, health coach. It's
okay.
underscore in between each of those. And I was going to change it a long time ago. I never did. At some
Oh,
point, maybe I will. I don't know. But it just stuck. And then on the, website is rootedholistichealth.com
okay.
on Facebook. And I'm going to be soon starting my own podcast. So I'll have you on
Yes.
the
Oh my
show because
gosh.
I'm like, I have all this bottled up material I need to get out there.
That
And
is awesome.
yes, yes, and on YouTube. So all these things are on the horizon. So I will definitely keep you posted on that.
Oh, that's so exciting. I can't thank you enough for being here. Yeah, I know we're going to have you back. We're going to dive into some mindset work as well to kind of just another piece of the puzzle in all of this. And just thank you. Thank
Thank you, Jill. Seriously, I love everything that you're doing, honestly. Like I said, every time I see you, on whether it's social media, your pictures, I just always am like, just it brings me joy because I see just the impact you're making and you're just such a positive light that you're
Thank
shining
you.
on others and that you just so I admire everything about you, what you do, how you show up in your community with your family. You just a woman of integrity and just I love you. I think you're an amazing woman.
Thank you. I love you too. You're going to make me cry, but thank you. I always just love catching up and talking. And yeah, my heart's happy today. So it's really good.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. I appreciate you.
And that's all for today's episode on embracing our 40s and beyond. If you are ready to take control of your health, balance your hormones, and feel your best, be sure to check out the 5-day reset and our new GLP-1 enhancer. Guys, I have been partnered with Modere for the past 5 years, and I am obsessed with their clean and game-changing products. I love to help you get started on this journey, so just head over to modere.com and use the code FITANDFIERCE, all one word, all lowercase, to grab your savings and enjoy free shipping. If you have any questions or you need more guidance, don't hesitate to reach out to me. I'm here to support you every step of the way. Make sure to tune in next time as we light up the celebration for our 200th episode of Find Your Fierce. You guys are not going to want to miss it. If you enjoyed today's episode, subscribe to Find Your Fierce so you never miss an update. Leave a review and follow us on social media, Hike, Live, Explore, for more wellness tips and updates. I'd love it if you could share this episode with friends and family who might benefit from a fitness boost. Thanks so much for being here. Until next time, remember, be fit, be fierce, be unstoppable. See ya.